So we've come to the point where we need to evaluate market structures. And what we're going to do with any market structure is we're going to evaluate it initially on three key criteria. What does it mean for efficiency? What does it mean for the consumer? What does it mean for the economy as a whole? And as we go on further, we may look at some broader implications. So the first thing we've got to start with is efficiency. And efficiency is one of those things that goes very wrong within theory of the firm, because everybody's kind of thinking about the firm being efficient for themselves, and that's not really what we're talking about where it comes to efficiency. Efficiency is about, efficiency for the firm isn't anything to do with this. The firm just wants to maximize its profits, and it couldn't give a stuff about anything else. So these wider efficiencies, these efficiencies that we're talking about, are really efficiencies, for other groups, for society, for the economy as a whole, and so on and so forth. And there are four types of efficiency, that we're going to look at: allocative, productive, X, and dynamic. And we're going to, in this initial video, I'll just explain what they are, and we'll apply those to perfect competition. But you'll come back to these again and again and again. So let's take allocative efficiency. So allocative efficiency really is pretty straightforward, and the answer is in its name. It's about our resources being allocated into the right area. So have we got an optimal allocation of resources? And by resources we mean factors of production. And we looked at this last year, really. So last year, when we looked at supply and demand, we simply said, well, look, there's supply, which we said is marginal cost. There's demand, which is marginal utility or marginal benefit or something like that. That's the equilibrium output. And we said that if we were at point A, then that would be good. And the reason that we said that would be good, and this isn't profit maximization, this is about maximization of community surplus, welfare in society. The reason that we said that would be good is that each of these units, the benefit, B, is greater than the cost of the resources that are used to make it. So for society's point of view, we use scarce resources and we generate more benefit than that for all the units up to there. For all these units, the benefit is more than the cost. As soon as we go past that point, if we were to do so, now the cost of scarce resources, the cost of using the land, the labour and the capital, is more than the benefit that's being produced. So that would create a welfare loss. So if we're here, we maximise community surplus. And that's what allocative efficiency is about. Allocative efficiency is about putting resources into the right areas so that the right goods and services are produced. This then means that society's welfare is maximised. So this is where supply equals demand in the industry diagram. Supply, we know from last year, is marginal cost. Demand actually shows us two things. Demand actually also shows us the price that the firm can charge. A demand line always shows you two things. It either shows that for a price of £5 we can sell 20 units, or it tells you if you want to sell 10 units you're going to have to charge a price of £8. So the demand line is also sometimes known as the price line. So the condition for allocative efficiency is being where price equals marginal cost. And for a firm in perfect competition, they're price takers. The industry will be where supply equals demand. Firms don't have the ability to drive up prices above the free market equilibrium. They have to respond to consumers' needs, and therefore community surplus is going to be maximised. So perfect competition is an allocatively efficient market structure. So what other types of efficiency are there? The second type of efficiency is productive efficiency. This one again, for some reason people always get confused between allocative and productive efficiency, and I for the life of me, I've been teaching a long time, but for the life of me this is the one that I don't really understand, because the answer's in the name. Allocative efficiency is about allocating resources, being where supply equals demand, responding to consumer needs. Productive efficiency is about producing efficiently. How does a firm produce efficiently? The answer is, it maximizes its productivity. If you're going to produce efficiently, you're going to maximize output per worker, and all that means is you're therefore going to be producing at the minimum unit cost. You want to produce at the minimum cost per unit. So that's your average cost, which shows the cost of the resources that's being used. The productively efficient output is there, the minimum point of that average cost curve. And that we know from what we did on costs. Marginal cost cuts the minimum point of the average cost curve. Before that point, MC is lower than AC, so AC is falling. After that point, MC is above AC, so AC is rising. So the productively efficient output is the minimum point of the average cost curve. That's where MC equals AC. And again, we know in perfect competition that the market is so very, very competitive that you can't charge a price above average cost in the long term. Even if firms are doing so, what's going to happen is that new firms will come and enter the market. We know that the market is such that you can only survive if you are you can only survive if you're completely productively efficient. We know that average revenue, margin revenue, whatever, is going to be driven down to that point there by new firms entering the market and so on. So a firm has no choice. It has no ability to drive price up above cost. It has no price setting power. The level of competition in the market, which is completely on the basis of price, and the fact there's no barriers to entry, drive prices down so that only normal profits can be made. Therefore, we would expect a firm in perfect competition to be productively efficient. Having said that, what we're lacking in perfect competition is all the firms are really small. There are many, many buyers and sellers. So the danger is, if you think about the long run average cost curve, and let's suppose it's a market where there are lots of economies of scale. The danger is that you've got a firm in perfect competition. Up here, it's very, very small, and it's producing, that's its short run average cost, and there's marginal cost. It's producing at the minimum point of its average cost curve. That's well done. That's not very clear, is it? It's right up. It's right up here. On its short run average cost curve there. It's producing at the minimum point there. Marginal cost goes through there. Costs are up here at this level here. So it's being productively efficient, producing at the minimum point of its average cost curve. But in reality, if you had much bigger firms, say monopoly or oligopoly, then they could produce, say, down here. That's, say, an oligopoly or something. And even if they weren't productively efficient, suppose they were kind of saying, well, I'm not going to produce at the minimum point of my average cost curve. I don't have to. I can just pass it on to the consumer. The cost is much lower than a little perfectly competitive firm. To give you a real-world example, imagine you've got a tiny little bakery. It's doing the best that it can to cut its costs. Still giving nowhere near the level of costs of somewhere like Tesco or Sainsbury's, even if Tesco and Sainsbury's are a bit inefficient. The small firm doing the very best that it can still isn't going to be able to reduce costs as low as the bigger firm, even if that big firm isn't being that efficient. So a third type of efficiency that you need to know about is what's called dynamic efficiency. And we're going to spend more time on dynamic efficiency when we look at oligopoly and monopoly. Dynamic efficiency is efficiency over time, and is this idea that if firms make abnormal profit, then that abnormal profit can be reinvested into the business. And it can be reinvested into process and into product. So if you've got loads and loads of profits, which firms in perfect competition don't, but if you have loads and loads of profits, then that can be reinvested into finding new techniques, new ways of making things more cheaply, more innovative production process, or into a range of dynamic products, into a range of new products that meet consumer needs better. Think about the changes that we've had over the last 15, 20, 25 years, with kind of faster broadband, tablet devices, touch screens, phones. I mean, there's so many new innovations that have all come about from the reinvestment of abnormal profit. Well, in perfect competition, there isn't any abnormal profit. We know that in the long run, competition is so intense that only normal profits can be made. Therefore, it's very unlikely that a firm in perfect competition won't be dynamically efficient. A firm in perfect competition will not be dynamically efficient. One last type of efficiency is what's called X-efficiency. X-efficiency isn't particularly well understood. It refers to what's called organizational slack. And it's this idea that it tends to occur in things like monopolies, particularly state-run monopolies, where there is essentially no competition. And therefore there is no incentive, especially if you're a state-run business, to keep costs down to the lowest level that you can. And this sounds like productive efficiency, which it isn't. What we're saying is that, let's suppose that is the possible long-run average cost curve that you could have. A firm that's X inefficient just has no incentive to get down to that level. It allows its costs to be driven above that level, as I say, perhaps because it's a state-run business, and therefore it has absolutely no incentive to keep costs down. So its actual long-run average cost curve is well above the possible long-run average cost curve, simply because it doesn't have any incentive to cut costs. And as I say, particularly common in state-run businesses. And obviously perfect competition can't possibly be like this. It competes only on the basis of price. Any sort of inefficiency of this nature will lead to it being wiped out. So if we look at, if we can say, well, what's our summary? If we look at, allocative efficiency, if we're looking at perfect competition, allocative efficiency, a firm in perfect competition has no price setting power. It just has to respond to the needs of the consumers. Productive efficiency, yes, so it will be producing where marginal cost equals price, or where supply equals demand. We'll come back to each of these in a bit later. Productive efficiency, yes, it will be. Prices are forced down to the lowest point of the average cost curve. It'll have to minimize its costs, but we said it lacks economies of scale, and that might undermine the true benefit of being at the minimum point of your average cost curve if your average cost curve is higher than it needs to be shown on a diagram. If we put the firm and the industry diagrams together, the industry diagram, we can see supply is marginal cost, demand is always marginal utility, there's output, that's allocative efficient. Overall community surplus is maximized. The firm, as we said, there's D equals AR equals MR. In a long run equilibrium, it can make only normal profit for the reasons that we've outlined many times already. Therefore, point A is allocative efficiency, and there on the firm diagram, point P is productive efficiency. Dynamic efficiency, it will not be dynamically efficient, it doesn't have any abnormal profit. And X-efficient, it will be X-efficient, it can't waste resources because of the level of price competition in the market.